I'm Lance Lambert. Thanks for tuning into the Vintage Vehicle Show. We are at the Automotive Road of Dreams Museum in Costa Mesa, California. This is a wonderful facility. It has a lot of great cars that you're going to see, and you're going to meet some nice people that work in this museum. So let's go on inside and take a look. Here at the Automotive Road of Dreams Museum, it takes somebody in charge to run this facility. This is such an incredible museum, and somebody has to be there at the helm. Well, we have Jeff Teller here. Jeff, how you doing?
Lance, thanks. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
Thanks for having us here. So how did this all come about?
Well, actually, believe it or not, we've operated the Orange County Marketplace here on the fairgrounds since 1969, so we've been here now about 36 years. And we're always looking to try to reinvent ourselves and come up with some creative ways of bringing a new audience out to the marketplace. And believe it or not, Lance, here in Orange County, California, there are over 4,000 classic and collectible vehicles registered right here.
Wow.
So we know that there are some incredible automotive events and automotive interests right here in our backyard. And we thought what a great way to do that is to have something to enhance that automotive presence here, like a museum that you see here today.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of events, I know you have a lot of very unique car shows here. Can you tell us about some of those?
Right. Well, on the fairgrounds itself, there are two big car shows that happen every year that kind of got the ball rolling, if you will. One is the Great Labor Day Cruise that happens every Labor Day weekend. It's a 3-day event, and they'll have upwards of 4,000 cars here over the 3 days, and it's really a terrific event. They have a cruising track that people can actually get out and get a chance to drive around, and people sit around and hold up placards, and it's really a terrific event. And then we have another great event that's just started in the last couple of years called Cruising for a Cure, and that's designed to actually bring focus to pancreatic cancer research, and that's been a tremendously successful event. So with that in mind, we thought we developed the Classic Car Museum, and then we also have our own series of themed car shows every year that starts every May with Strawberry Sunday, which, believe it or not, is a car show that we have. We have several hundred cars come out, and they're all red. And we have fire trucks, and we have strawberry pieing contests.
Every car here is red at that show.
Yeah, and it's really something to see a sea of 300-400 all red cars.
That's neat.
Yeah.
And the cars that are in the museum, where did they come from? Who do they belong to? How did they end up here?
Well, when we first started, we kind of the cars that were on display were all our cars in our collection. And over the time, it was always our goal to bring in other people's automobiles so that they had the opportunity to show them to the public that would appreciate them. And we've since created a forum with the museum to allow local collectors to have an opportunity to do just that.
Yeah, there's some great cars here. So I understand you have a gentleman that works here that when it comes down to details about the cars,
when it comes down to the metal on display, the man that really knows it the best is William Fissel, and he's kind of our director of museum operations here on the property.
William, come on over here.
Hey, William. Good to see you.
How you doing, William?
Nice to meet you.
This is our guy here. This is the man that's going to take us on a tour, and you're going to learn so much about the cars in this museum. Jeff, thank you very much.
Yeah, you'll be in very good hands with William. He does a terrific job, and it was a pleasure, and welcome. I hope you enjoy your tour.
So, William, you have been fortunate enough, at least it looks like it, to get a really great job. How did you end up here at the museum?
Kind of found me.
Yeah, how'd that happen?
I was actually working in food service, and I asked one of
here on the fairgrounds?
Yeah, here on the fairgrounds, and I asked one of the owners of the company about one of the popcorn carts we have. We have these popcorn carts that are made out of Model Ts. He's like, "Oh, I don't know too much about them." He popped the hood, noticed had it sandcast ahead. We started talking about it, and he thought I knew a lot about cars, and I ended up finding myself a job here when they had their grand opening museum, back in about 2000, and I've been here ever since. 5 years now.
What's better, cooking hot dogs or
I
working
think
in here?
I prefer it here.
Yeah. Speaking of hot dogs, this is a really spectacular hot dog right here, a 1904 Cadillac. How did this end up here? And it's an amazing condition. It's an amazing car.
Well, it's the owner of the museum's car. It's got 8.25 horsepower. Single cylinder, 1500 cc. It's like a 2-liter bottle, kind of coming up and down in there. Exposed valve gear, and it's a real, chain drive. It's a real rinky-dink car, and maybe top speeds maybe 15, 16 miles an hour. One brake around the back axle shaft. Not a whole lot of creature comforts. Really a horseless carriage, but it's how it all began.
Yeah. Well, it's pretty advanced for a 1904 car when you compare it to the other cars, the Fords, of course, and everything else that was around then. Why do you think Cadillac was the company that decided to really kind of step up to the higher quality car?
That's a good question. I don't know. They always did kind of, there's always those people that just want to be better than everybody else, and I think, maybe that was kind of what they were shooting for from the beginning.
Yeah, I want to be better than everybody else, but it hasn't worked so far. We've got a car down here that's pretty interesting. Let's take a look at that. William, we talked about the Cadillac, and that's definitely an upscale car for 1904. Well, at 1928 Auburn, that's kind of an upscale car for that period of time, too.
Yeah, definitely. Auburn was, again, a little ahead of their time from early on. They, and this model uses a straight 8. It's about 4 liters, about 90 horsepower. It goes about 60 miles an hour. It's a good cruiser. Back then, the roads weren't what they are today, and 60 miles an hour on tires like this is a feat.
This particular model it's a step above some of the other cars that were manufactured in 1928, but it's a pretty standard looking body style. And Auburn then took kind of a drastic step and got into the boat tails, and I see we have one just right behind us here.
Yeah.
When the Auburn went to the boat tail design, that was something that really made America stand up and watch, and the whole world for that matter of fact. It's such an incredible body design. How did this come here, and why do you think they did that on the boat tail design?
Well, it's sporty. It really is, and it's a private party car. A fellow just wants to put it on display so other people can enjoy it. This model came with either straight 8 or a V12 engine, and they were both brisk performers. 95 miles an hour for the straight 8, and well over 100 for the V12. I mean, that's getting up there, especially back then. and it's a heck of a car, and love to have it. Real happy to have it here.
This is an early gentleman's hot rod. I think that, you know, I can see Clark Gable behind the wheel of this, or somebody like that. So the motoring public, I think, looked at cars like this and thought, this is what a sexy car is supposed to look like. This is sleek, this is forward, this is advanced. This is the type of car that somebody that really appreciates automotive design is going to want to drive. So it was a forebearer of just incredible designs beyond that point, I think.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, it was well ahead of its time mechanically as well. I mean, it had good brakes all around, and it had steering that was well ahead of, you know, Ford and Chevy and all the others. It was really a mechanically complex, you know, it wasn't just all looks. It had bark, you know, and bite.
And this is the type of car that the guy goes and picks up his girlfriend in, but you have just around the corner a much larger but just as classy of a car. Can we take a look at that?
Oh, let's do it.
All right. William, your newest arrival here, this 1933 Lincoln. What an incredible car.
Yeah, originally owned by Tony Heinsberg, an interior designer to a lot of the big name Hollywood stars back in the day. He sure was a successful guy to have a car like this.
So this type of car, how are you lucky enough to have this here in the museum?
It's another private party car, just a guy that wants to, you know, put it on display so people can enjoy it. Nice guy.
This type of motoring, I see it's set up for somebody in the back seat there. They're so protected. They have the cowl going over. They have the windshield right in front of them. So this obviously was a chauffeur-driven vehicle.
Yeah, the chauffeur would, you know, open the door and open this up for you and let you in and everything, and shut the door. And these, you know, while a great car, they weren't the best to drive. Real heavy brakes and real heavy steering. It's a heavy car with no power steering.
You had somebody driving it for you. So
oh
you
yeah,
didn't
it wasn't an issue.
Yeah. So do you think a car like this was something that in California here at that period of time when one of these was going down the road, do you think everybody looked in admiration, or do you think they looked, I mean, we're in the Depression at this time. Do people look at a car like this and not be happy about it, do you think?
Well, yeah, there's probably some jealousy going on, even in Hollywood, but well, there's probably a lot more jealousy in Hollywood than anywhere. But I think that people respected it for what it was, and, you know, probably wish they were behind the wheel more than anything else.
You mentioned this is one of 9 of this body.
Yeah, this is body number 1 of 9 ever built.
That's it, 9.
That's it, 9, yeah.
I wonder where the rest of them are.
It's a good question. I wish I did know.
Yeah. Well, you have another car down here talking about people's impressions. You have a car that a lot different than this, only it's a convertible, and it has just a little bit of a risque background.
Yeah.
William, it's not risque because it's pink, and it's not risque because it's a convertible. It's risque because, am I correct, that Hugh Hefner every year gave the Playmate of the Year a new car, and this was the very first year that he did it, 1959 Thunderbird, and gave it to the Playmate of the Year, Mariana Gaba, right?
You got it. You hit it on the nose there. Yeah, Mariana Gaba got this, and, you know, all different cars throughout the years. He actually gave a Pinto later on, so that girl must have been pretty jealous of Mrs. Gaba after a while there.
Or Hugh owed Ford a favor or something.
Yeah,
so,
I think it was something to do with the gas crunch there for a while.
I had a 60 Thunderbird for 8 years, and it was a dream to drive. It was just a fantastic car. So this looks like it is every bit as good a condition mine was, and probably even better. How did you get this particular car with such a famous background?
I believe Bob just traded a couple cars, and we ended up with it, and it's really a great car to have. It really smooth running. It's a big V8 with not a lot of horsepower, but a lot of torque. Just pull you through anything up a hill, no problem.
Right.
Got an automatic. It's real easy to drive. You know, it's for a Playmate, of course, so it was everything was made real easy.
Yeah. So William, do you get to drive some of the cars here in the museum?
Actually, every year we have to drive all of them. We have to close the museum for the fair every year, and everything's got to come out, every last car, and it's a tremendous amount of work, but it's a whole lot of fun getting them out of here.
Jeff mentioned that earlier. You have to take every display out of here, every car. This building has to be empty once a year.
The builders of the sets come in and they help us out a little bit, but the cars, that's up to us, thankfully.
That's a ton of work.
Well, we call it Hell Week, but it's a whole lot of fun.
I guess it's Hell Week, but you have to tear it down, but you get to drive all the cars.
Yeah, you put in long days, but it's really not bad work at all.
Has Mariana Gaba ever dropped by?
No, I wish she would. You know, I wouldn't mind getting an old episode or an old issue and having her sign it or something. That'd be great. But
Mariana Gaba, if you're out there, we want to hear from you. We want to do a show with you in this car. So. Well, what a history this is, and you've got something pretty neat over here you don't see very often.
Yeah.
All right, let's take a look. Now, I know a lot of you people out there think you know a lot about cars, and some of you think that the DeLorean was the only car that was manufactured in Ireland. You are wrong. We have a 1959 Shamrock. What else would you call a car manufactured in Ireland? A Shamrock. William, how did this come here? And Shamrocks, I've never heard of them.
Well, it's another private party car, and actually DeLorean was made in North Ireland, so it wasn't even made in Ireland. This is truly the only car ever made in Ireland. It's mostly a British drivetrain. It's an MGBB block, 1,500 cc's, and it's a four-seater convertible, but it only weighs 1,900 pounds. And it's got less than 60 horsepower, but they say it still goes 85, which is,
fine.
you know, I guess it's got the luck of the Irish in the drivetrain there somewhere.
I noticed some definite Lincoln styling cues on this. It looks like a 57 Lincoln to me.
Yeah, it's definitely a very smooth car. It's actually, the body is a one-piece fiberglass body laid up by a boat builder in Ireland. And so that front bumper is the same layout as that rear bumper. So it's, you know, be a little careful there with parallel parking.
So why do you think the U.S. is not full of Shamrocks going everywhere now?
Well, they were trying to compete in a budget that was a little too low, and they sold them for a little less than they put into them, and they went up pretty quick.
Yeah, it looks like a combination of a Lincoln and a T-Bird. So, you know, one of the little birds. So it just, the numbers were wrong and the sales were wrong. And
only built about 50, and they lost a tremendous amount of capital in the 50 that they built. So.
And you said how many were shipped to the U.S.?
About half of those were shipped to the U.S., but there's only 2 known left. So there's not a whole heck of a lot of them out there.
Very unique car. You have another car just down the line that was owned by, it's a very unique car, but a really unique owner, somebody that everybody out there knows who he is. So I am sitting in a 1929 Pierce Arrow that was owned by Charlie Chaplin. Is that correct?
Pierce Arrow Model 143. It's 125 horsepower straight 8. It's a big old straight 8 in it. This is actually the car he was driving the day the stock market crashed.
Wonder if he saw falling bodies and buildings as he was driving down the street. So my petite rear end is right where Charlie Chaplin's bottom might have been at one time.
Very well, yeah. He probably had a chauffeur, but
Yeah,
I'd be surprised if he hadn't driven it himself a few times.
Pierce Arrow, what a glamorous car. Just, you know, Charlie Chaplin and all his cronies drove stuff like this.
Yeah, we talked about Auburn earlier, and while they built some really great cars, they built some, you know, grocery getters too. Pierce just stuck with the really great cars. They didn't really get any grandmother's cars built in there.
Pierce Arrow didn't survive. I know they kept making cars. I think the stock market was real tough on them.
The day he was driving this was the day that signaled the demise of Pierce Arrow as well. So
they made trailers for a while to try to stay afloat, and that didn't work for them. So, William, this is such a wonderful facility that you have here. So many great cars in here. This is absolutely free. It's open to the public, correct?
Every Saturday and Sunday, 9 to 3. Anybody can come through. You know, we're closed during the fair. Like I said, we got a breakdown for the fair and everything. And you know, if it's rainy, nobody comes to the fairgrounds in the rain. But other than that, every weekend, 9 to 3.
And this is the goodness of the owners of these cars. They just put them here for the public to see.
Yeah, about half the collection is Bob Teller and Jeff Teller, the fellow you talked to earlier, and about half are just private people want to put their car on display. You know, anybody can come in and put their car on display. It doesn't cost anything. It's just, you know, lending it so people can enjoy it.
So they can come here to Costa Mesa to the Automotive Road of Dreams Museum every Saturday and every Sunday. What are the hours again?
From 9 a.m. to 3 p.m.
And for more information, they can go to your website, which is?
It's the automotiveroadofdreams.com. You can just do a search on Yahoo or Google on Automotive Road of Dreams, or you can just type it in.
Okay. Well, William, thank you very much for taking the time to be on the show. It's a real honor being here. And if you want to climb on the back, maybe I can drive us down to the local hamburger stand.
Sounds good to me.
All right.